Build and paint your first Warhammer model. Perfect for beginners. I am a beginner. How do I build and paint my first Warhammer model? I learned the budget tools last week, but also I forgot that I never learned the process. So now that I know the budget tools, I need to see the process. And then I can start assembling what I need and thinking about it. All right.
Hi there, my name's Guy, you're watching Midwinter Minis, and in this video I'm going to cover all the steps you need to know to build and paint your first ever Warhammer miniature.
Let's
and
go!
guide you every step of the way, from this
Plastic.
to this.
Ooh.
I've been doing this for years and years, and I've painted hundreds of models, probably over 1,000. I've made tons of mistakes, but in this video I'm going to do my best to help you avoid them so you can hit the ground running, truly enjoy the process of painting, and end up with something that you can be really proud of. We're also
That kit he showed was an Adeptus Mechanicus, right? I think the kit I used in the thumbnail is also a Mechanicus kit. Correct me if I'm wrong.
going to be joined by my nieces, Erin, who's 11, and Kristen,
Nieces?
who's 15.
Oh, that's
and they're going to
nice.
be building and painting their first models
Oh my
right
God.
alongside you.
He's roping his family into the Warhammer addiction. The entire family be building the kits.
I'm Erin and I'm 11 years old. I have never
11
painted
years old.
or made a war thing.
Hello, I'm Kristen and I'm 15 and I've never heard of Warhammer. I'm sorry, Guy.
In the video description,
Oh no, I feel for their future now. What if this gets them hooked? They're so young too. It's okay. I'm sure their lovely uncle right here will fund those Warhammer funds.
you'll find useful timestamps to all the different steps, just in case you want to skip to the bit you're looking for, or watch it again later. Okay,
Timestamps,
let's get
let's
started.
go.
Let's cover the things you'll need for a basic miniature painting setup. You want a nice flat surface to use as a painting area, either on a table, a desk, even a tray table will work nicely. If you're
I got one of those cutting mats for gunpla, but I think I should probably get a larger one, especially if like paint is being involved.
painting in the daytime, sitting next to a window to get some nice natural light is a great idea. But if you're painting in the evening, you might want to sit near a lamp so you can see
Yep,
what you're doing more
got those
closely.
lamps.
White daylight bulbs, or LEDs, are usually the best, as you'll be
Orcs!
able to see the colours much more clearly than warmer, softer bulbs. If you want to paint models, you're obviously going to need some paint. There are loads of different brands that
I
make
need to get
acrylic
those
paint
too.
for miniatures, and they all have some good points and bad points. But for me, personally, the best balance of quality, price, and good paint coverage is Vallejo. I would also recommend getting hold of a can of spray plastic primer. For most paint schemes,
Right.
I would recommend getting a grey one, and we'll talk about why you need this in a minute.
Yeah, I need to get primer. I was also wondering about what color to get. I think it was explained briefly. Some of you guys explained it before too, but yeah, still thinking about it. So, I think it depends on what color I want to paint them, but I think gray is the most versatile one, I believe. Yeah, best for beginners. Yeah, probably. Small one is good enough? Okay. Well, I guess like the other thing is it's kind of like I got it for aesthetic purposes. The mat I currently have, because it's like pretty and clear, right? So if I'm gonna get it dirty, I might get like a solid colored one. I like how like there's no purpose of the mat if I'm like caring about aesthetics, but you know what I mean.
To get things going, you'll also need a paintbrush. I would recommend grabbing a set of cheap synthetic brushes if it's your first time. Lots of companies make gold Taklon brushes
Yeah, I
in
need
good
to get
sizes
these
for the
too.
hobby. I do about 99% of my miniature painting with synthetic brushes like this. They give you good control of your brush, but they're cheap enough that you don't have to be too precious about them. In the video description, I've linked to a cheap brush set that'll give you a good range of sizes. It's also quite important to have a
Nice.
few tools for assembling your models.
Oh, what is this?
Some models are push fit, but others will need to be put together with glue. Plastic glue, sometimes called plastic
Oh, it's
cement,
glue.
is the
Okay.
best thing to use for plastic models. Super glue will hold anything together, but the pieces may eventually break apart if you drop them or hold them too hard. You'll need a sharp knife to clean up your model before you glue them together. Maybe you or somebody in your house already has a craft knife or a scalpel.
Yeah, I got the knife tool and I got the nippers from Gunpla already, I think. Oh yeah, Tamiya extra thin. Yeah, I need to grab that. And I heard it's like fairly affordable as well, right? I think Tamiya tools on the affordable side. I don't know. Maybe it depends on where you buy them too, though.
Very careful when using something like this. I cut right into my thumb when I was about 10
Oh my
years
gosh,
old
yeah.
trying to build an Imperial Guard tank, and I've still
Yep.
got the scar.
Yep. Ouch.
To get the models out of the
Oh, that looks painful. I am also like, I accidentally cut myself a lot just because I'm really clumsy, so I'm scared to use knives. So I try to stick to nippers if I can.
they come attached to, a pair of hobby snips will be really useful. If you don't want to buy a dedicated tool like this just yet,
I got my
nail clippers
snips.
make a pretty good alternative. You'll also want a little jar or cup of water. I prefer glass jars, as you can more easily see when your paint water needs changed, and there's a much smaller chance of you accidentally cleaning your dirty paintbrush in your lovely coffee, or worse, drinking your gross paint water.
He took a video of it. He sounds like he's actually done it before, which maybe he did. Like, obviously, probably filmed this for like video purposes, but the Forbidden Brew. This has the same energy as like, okay, maybe you guys have not done this before, but I have. But in the morning when like I'm like super half asleep, right? And I go to brush my teeth, instead of putting toothpaste on my toothbrush, I put soap by accident. Because I have like a soap pump and I like dispensed soap onto my toothbrush and then put it in my mouth and went like, bleh. Yeah. So gotta be careful.
It's also handy to have a couple of sheets of kitchen paper on hand to wipe your paintbrush and clean up any spills you might have. You're also going to want a simple palette to mix your paints on. A lot of experienced painters use a wet palette,
Yeah, I
which
learned.
keeps your paints usable for longer, but I just don't like them.
Oh,
I find
really?
it much easier to use a little plastic cup palette like this, and the best part
Interesting.
is, this is the cheapest type of palette too.
Okay.
Finally,
A lot of people are saying wet palette. And like, I think in the video I watched last week was also wet palette. So I'm surprised to see like someone, I'd say fairly experienced, not using a wet palette.
Seem obvious, but you're going to need some models. For your first mini painting experience, I would recommend a normal infantry unit from an army you think looks
Okay.
cool. I'm going to be painting one of these Adeptus Mechanicus Skitarii models. Kristen is going to be painting a Space Marine, and Erin is going to be painting a
Marines.
Necron Warrior. Right, so you've got all the bits you need, let's start building your model. Most of the time, Warhammer models come on these plastic frames. These are called sprues. Now each model is made of several parts. If your sprue
Then
has several
trim
miniatures
them.
on it, and is a part of a squad of similar models, sometimes parts are interchangeable, meaning you can choose whatever arms or legs or head you like, but often you'll find specific arms go with a specific torso, and some hands or weapons only fit on specific arms. Make sure
I wonder how well written these instructions are. Yeah. I'm just wondering, like, how, I guess, like, not well written, but how, like, detailed they are? Yeah, I wonder. I guess I'd have to build one to know.
to check out the instructions your model comes with, just to make sure you're using the right parts. Once you've identified
They
the
don't
bits
even
you
have-
need to build your model, it's time to snip them out of the sprue.
I was gonna say, it doesn't say, like, the order you're supposed to fit these in, but maybe it doesn't matter. It's a hit and miss? Not as good as gunpla? Yeah, it doesn't look too detailed. Like, I see the pictures. Well, the pictures are detailed at least. Like, you could tell which parts they are and they're numbered. But yeah, I don't know if, like, maybe they don't tell you, like, the order the parts have to go in and stuff. Maybe you have to figure them out. A lot better than they were a decade ago. They have evolved. I guess that makes sense. Yeah. Wet palettes are great, but not a must for beginner. You waste a lot of paint on them. I need to thin them out more. Oh, gotcha. Drinking paint water and spilling wash paint is a must. Oh no. Note to self: make sure to put like, I don't know, a cover on my like desk area if I'm gonna work at my desk. So you know, in case there's a spill, I don't actually ruin anything.
Once you've identified the bits you need to build your model, it's time to snip them out of the sprue. Using your hobby snips or nail clippers, carefully cut out the parts you need one by one. If you cut them
I think Sunny was using nail clippers. Yeah, Sunny did assemble her first kit the other day. I don't know how far she got, but I remember dropping in and I saw that she was using little nail clippers, and I'm like, yo, you know, If it works, it works. I think she said she was missing a lot of tools though, so she was gonna like buy some, and she told me she'd send me links too. I think some people gifted it to her actually. Yeah. I think she was building a space marine maybe. I think she was like doing a beginner set.
Model parts with the snips right against the piece, you might accidentally cut into the part. If you cut just a little bit further away, we can remove any rough bits later without damaging the model. Double check to make sure you've got all the bits you need, and then we can spend a minute just making sure the pieces are nice and clean and looking their best. Using your sharp knife, carefully cut away any of the little sprue connection points that might have been left behind on the model.
This is where I use my gunpla, my sharp gunpla nippers, because I am too scared to use the knife. But yeah, I think like the cutting part, I got it down. I know how to cut.
Better to cut away little by little than too much all at once, otherwise you might damage the model. You might also notice that the pieces of your model have a very fine line running all the way round. This is called a mold line, left over from when the two halves of the mold pressed together. This can really easily be removed using the back of your hobby knife. You don't need to use a lot of pressure, just gently scrape away at any really obvious mold lines, and your models will look much better when they're all painted up.
I didn't know you're supposed to remove those. I thought it was like part of the model. Okay, that's interesting to know.
After you've cleaned up your model and removed sprue connections, you might notice that some areas have these little white marks. This will be hidden when we prime and paint, so don't worry too much. Okay, now we've got all the loose model bits and we know they're nice and clean. Now it's time to attach them. Dry fit your parts together to see where they actually contact each other, and then add a little dot of plastic glue on one side. Hold the parts together for a couple of seconds, and the parts will start to bond. If the parts are small, you can usually let go after about 5 seconds. If the parts are a bit bigger or heavier, you might want to hold them together for a little bit longer.
Man, I cannot wait to glue my fingers together. I am also terrible at using glue. I try to avoid it if I can, but I don't think I can avoid it here. I always get it on my fingers. Plastic glue doesn't affect your fingers? Oh, okay. I just gotta make sure it's plastic glue. Got it. Yeah, super glue I have to stay away from. I will super glue my fingers. Okay, yeah. Plastic glue can't glue skin. Okay, good. But wash hands afterwards. Yes. Maybe I'll wear
Some
gloves.
push-fit models go together without glue and they have these little posts and holes, but I find they often need a very tight squeeze to fit together properly, and sometimes you can damage your models by doing this. I prefer to snip the posts off and glue them together as though they were normal parts.
This is so foreign to me. Oh my gosh. Snip them and glue them? Yeah, as someone coming from like gunpla, I am like, what? What do you mean the parts don't like snip together? Like they don't like fit into the holes? Like what do you mean you can ignore them? It's a push to fit model. It's different. Yeah, this is very foreign to me. I don't know. I don't know, develop like how to know when I'm supposed to do this and how to when not. I guess like when I'm building it, I'll be able to tell if it's like push to fit and it's like, oh man, this is giving me so trouble. I'm just gonna cut it off and glue it, I know a lot of people have been asking. They're like, Glitch Stars 40K collab when, I'm sure eventually. You don't need glue to build them, but people often snip the parts and glue anyway. Gotcha. The push fit usually isn't that bad, but it can be more hassle than it's worth sometimes. I see. So if it's like giving me too much trouble, then I could just like go like, fuck it, we're switching to glue. Yeah, to be fair, you aren't using gunpla in an actual game, so making sure they fit together and the fit stays is a lot more vital. Yeah. They serve different purposes, right? Yeah. I'm not saying like one is better over the other. Like obviously I don't even know much about Warhammer yet, but like yeah, like definitely like they have the differences because they serve different purposes. All right.
When you dry fit your model, sometimes you'll see things that will obviously be really tricky to paint in the future. For example, on this Skitarii model I'll be painting, it'll be really hard to paint the inside of the coat without accidentally painting the legs. In cases like this, it's sometimes easier to leave them off, paint them separately, and then glue them together after you've painted them. This is called painting in sub-assemblies, and this is very useful for bigger, more complicated models. For this demo though, I'm going to fully build this model, just so you can see that it's not the end of the world if you've glued everything together before you started painting.
Oh, it's pretty easy, like, gluing it. Because, like, you just put it in the little holes, and then you just, like, stuck it in. Yeah, that's good.
Now your model is all built and prepped. Now would be a good time to add some detail to the base before we prime and paint. There are
if his niece says it was easy, then I'm sure I can do it.
Loads of different options. Some bases already come with sculpted details in the plastic. Lots of companies also make cool texture paints that dry with a rough, rocky look, and some crack like dry earth. Erin decided to use one of these cool texture paints on her Necron base. Using an old paintbrush or a coffee stirrer, apply the paint to the base, and if you get any on the model speak by mistake, just use a slightly damp brush to wipe it away.
I feel like she's a natural. The way she's like using the paintbrush. Like, it looks like she knows how to paint. Like, even if she hasn't painted a Warhammer kit before, it looks like she knows what she's doing with, like, you know, the touch of the brush and stuff. Damn.
Another easy method of adding texture is by using sand and little stones. This is what Kristen wanted for her Space Marines base. Apply a thin coat of PVA to the model's base, place the bigger rocks by hand, and then sprinkle sand over the base until the surface is covered.
Oh, I love that.
After this is dried, you can do it again to add even more texture to the surface and make it natural and uneven. And if any sand dried to the model's feet or legs, no problem. Just scratch them off with something like a cocktail stick. If you don't have any...
I think it's really cool that these Warhammer kits, like, there's an emphasis on the base. Yeah. I think that's something I don't really see in Gunpla. I know, like, people that, like, really build customs, like, they like add like bases and like dioramas and stuff, but like, you know, it's not something that is emphasized in like the base kit, you know what I mean? Like the kit that you buy, right? So I think it's cool that these have more of an emphasis on like kind of like what they're standing on.
Sand, little rocks, or any cool texture paints, you can use literal dirt. For my Skitarii, I'm just sprinkling over some dirt and dust that I scooped from my driveway. Again, PVA glue is great for creating a strong bond over time, but superglue will make things stick instantly. Why not experiment with both methods, and I'm sure you'll find one you prefer. After an hour or two, your bases will be
that looks fun to do, like coating it. It kind of reminds me of like when people like, have you guys seen those like TikToks of like bakers like making cake pops, and they would like take the cake pop and like dip it in like a bowl of like little like, you know, cookie crumbs. Yeah, it reminds me of that. Yeah, no, this is really selling me on making bases. It looks really fun. Yeah, bases are part of gameplay too. You can add smaller, bigger bases to bespoke models. Yeah, they're meant to be put on a battlefield. Your 11-year-old is a prodigy. What do you mean? Yeah. Adeptus Mechanicus are one of the more challenging sets. Oh. Yeah, 40k can be like really painful cake pops if you eat them. Do not eat your 40k models.
Bases will be dry to the touch, and it'll be time to prime your model. Now, I never used to prime my Warhammer models, and I only realised what a big mistake this was when the paint on some of my older models started scratching and chipping off.
Yikes!
Priming adds a thin layer of paint that sticks really well to the plastic model, but it also acts as a really nice surface to lay your paint down on. Not only does the paint behave better when you actually paint, but it would also make your finished paint job much more durable.
I mean, if this happens, you could just be like, it's just weathering. It's supposed to look like that. It's just weathering on my, on my little model. You can make vases that look like anything from a jungle or swamp to a dusty wasteland and battlefield. Yeah. Yeah, it's plastic gray weathering. Yeah.
The fancy model holders on the market so you can get more control as you spray, but I just use blue tack or poster putty to stick my models to a strip of cardboard from a pizza box.
Oh, that's smart.
It's free and it works.
Okay. Yeah, I have blue tack.
Give your spray can a really good shake for at least 2 minutes. Shake and flip, shake again, swirl, flip, swirl, and a good shake to finish it off.
Give it a good shake.
This mixes the paint up well with the propellant inside the can, so you should get a smooth stream of paint with good coverage on the model. The aim of the game here isn't to totally saturate the model in paint, it's to give it just a light dusting. We don't want to accidentally fill in all of that lovely detail by mistake. Now head outside and holding the model about 20 centimeters or 8 inches away from the can, pull the trigger on the spray can while you sweep left and right. As you do this, rotate the model with your other hand, trying to hit from above and from the underside too. This is what you're aiming for here.
Oh, it looks clean.
All the areas
It looks really nice. Yeah, okay. That was I like what he did with like attaching it to like a cardboard piece with like blue tack. Yeah. That makes a lot of sense.
The plastic that was scraped white, the model itself, and the base should all be a uniform colour. It doesn't matter if there's a tiny bit of plastic showing through here and there. Priming is always a balance of covering the model as best you can while preserving the detail and not firing too much paint at it. Here's a quick tip. I also prime my paint palette too. That way I can test exactly how the paint is going to behave on my model, but on the palette itself. Now when your primer is dry, it's time to paint.
Oh boy, these colors. This is the exciting part, picking the colors.
Following an official colour scheme, now's the time to get all of your paints together that you're going to need for your project. If you haven't quite decided, or you want to make your own scheme, just use whatever.
Wait, let me go back. I thought these were the names of the colors, but is it actually like how to achieve that particular color? Like you have to mix like colors together? Because I was looking at the icons on the side and I'm like, oh, is this achieved by mixing like multiple colors together? It's a few coats. Oh, so it is sort of like mixing. Warhammer website used to have all recipes for the model. Sadly, they removed them. Why? Okay, they must be archived somewhere though, right? Oh, now it's in its own app. Oh, Citadel Color app. Oh, this is good to know.
For your project. If you haven't quite decided, or you want to make your own scheme, just use whatever colours feel right with you. There aren't really any rules here. The most important thing is that you like it. I would recommend choosing a main colour and then an accent colour that works well with it and isn't too similar. If you need some inspiration, don't be afraid to look through a few books or jump on Instagram to see what colour combinations other people are using. Kristen wanted to paint her Space Marine as a Hawk Lord, so she chose purple and gold.
Oh, purple and gold is a really nice combo. Yeah, I was gonna say, I am very good at learning if I'm copying off something, like for reference. So I think I'm gonna have to like find a picture and just like kind of like, you know, look at it and copy, you know what I mean? for my first model, so that I have something as like sort of a guide before I start like trying to get like original and creative and coming up with my own color scheme. I think it'll be easier if I just followed one. But yeah, purple and gold, nice combo.
Wanted to paint her Space Marine as a Hawk Lord, so she chose purple and gold.
Hawk, fly hawk. Hawk. Oh my, yeah, right. Okay.
Hawk
I remember
Lord.
now.
Erin wanted a spooky grim look on her Necron, so she chose a really dark grey and a light bone colour.
Well, I just feel like it'd be very like creepy if you like saw that walking towards you. You wouldn't expect it to be like rainbow.
Now I want a traditional look with my Skitarii, so I went with red, grey and corroded metal. It's also useful to attach your models to something that'll make it easier to hold and turn while you paint. As I said before, loads of companies make fancy holders, but Warhammer is quite an expensive hobby, and I like to save money wherever I can, so I just use these little plastic cups with a bit of blue tack under the model's base.
He's so smart. Okay, I like learning these budget tips. Yeah. Why buy a holder when you could just use one of these? I mean, obviously if you want the holder like for super fancy decorational purposes, sure, go for it. But you can paint with nail polish as well. Just use a hobby grade thinner like Mr. Color or Tommy or lacquer thinner. Oh, I do have some nail polish. Oh, but I feel like nail polish chips too easily. But maybe as long as you coat it fine, it's okay. Also, people stress out way too much about painting minis because when they see the pro painters on YouTube and theirs don't look the same. I mean, isn't that like I feel like they should know that's like obvious though, right? Because like those, it's like, how do you think those pro painters became pros? It's because they like painted over and over and over again, right? And got better. So it's like, It's like, I feel like if you're going to, you gotta be aware your first one is probably gonna look kind of jank. Emuri dayon. Am I interrupting? Well, too bad. Did you know that only like 4% of you guys are subscribed? I would appreciate if you guys subscribe because it would bring me great joy and motivation. Yeah, please subscribe. Thank you. And that's part of the fun. I mean, if you wanted a perfectly painted kit, you would like probably just like commission one off someone, right? I saw there's some people that offer like painting services for Warhammer kits.
Okay, let's get painting. The best place to start is usually with your main colour, and generally you can paint this everywhere. You don't have to be that careful, as we can paint our other colours over the top of this one. To make sure your paint doesn't go on too thick and obscure details, or dry with weird streaks and texture, you'll want to make sure it's thin to the right consistency.
Oh yeah, he's adding a thinner.
Paint straight out of the pot is often much too thick to use straight on the model, but by adding water bit by bit, it becomes smoother to work with, and covers much better, and it flows from the brush more easily. Be careful you don't add too much water though, as the paint will be really hard to control and runs everywhere. Just add a little water, bit by bit, until it looks nice and silky, like this. When you're base coating, it's important to use a brush that's big enough. You might think that you need a teeny tiny brush to paint small models, but actually, I do the majority of my painting with size 2 brushes or bigger. They carry more paint, you can paint faster, and you can still be pretty accurate with them when you need to be. Using a tiny detail brush for base coating will take ages and it'll drive you mad. Once you've got your first base coat painted on, it shouldn't take too long to dry. Most acrylic model paints dry in just a couple of minutes. If you think it looks a bit see-through, or it's not really a nice solid colour, you might want to apply another thin coat just to reinforce it.
It dries down really matte. Yeah, because like when you applied it, it looks super glossy, but when the dry down is matte. It's like a matte finish. Mini painting perfectionism, imposter syndrome is real. I mean, of course, if you look at people like that are good at what they do, it's gonna be like, yeah, it's like, no shit, they're better. I get it though. I get that it can be like pressure, but you know, it's like learning is part of the fun. Commission work is expensive. Yeah, of course. I didn't say it was cheap. Like commissioning anyone to do anything is expensive than just doing it yourself. Use a bigger brush. The important part is to use a brush with a sharp point. Okay. So it doesn't have to be like thin. It just needs to have like a sharp point. Got it. Depends on the brand.
Now we've got our main colour down, and before we start adding our accent colours, painting the weapons and stuff like that, at this point you might want to do something called dry brushing to add quick highlights to your main colour.
Dry brushing.
Before we actually start dry brushing, we'll need a lighter version of your main colour. You can obviously buy a dedicated paint just for this, but don't be afraid to mix your own on your palette. So for Erin's Necron, we mixed a slightly lighter grey by adding a bit of white to the main colour she used. For Kristen's Space Marine, we added a bit of white and a tiny bit of red to the purple to make her...
The purple looks so good! Sheesh! Oh, this looks clean. Also, if it dries down matte, you could always like put like a glossy top coat on top, right? If you want to make it glossy. I'm sure there's also like the opposite. There's also like matte top coats. Just like nail polish.
Warmer pink. And I'm adding a bit of yellow to my red to make it a little bit brighter and richer.
Oh, that's a nice shade.
Now we've got the right colour, let's start dry brushing. Grab a large brush like this with big soft bristles and dab it in the paint on your palette. Now start wiping it on your kitchen paper, working the paint into the bristles and moving it around until almost no paint is coming off on the paper.
What? That looks so cool.
Now start sweeping your brush gently back and forth across the model. The lighter paint will only catch on the raised and prominent areas, leaving your original base colour in the recesses. As you can see, this is a really quick way of adding texture and bringing out detail.
What? I didn't know you could just do it like that. That looks actually really good.
It might seem funny doing it now, as we've only got one colour on the model, but as you can see, this is quite a messy step. And if you'd already painted some other colours, it would be really hard not to paint over them accidentally while you do this.
The dry brushing made it look so sick. It was really good. Whoa. But don't use too much.
Dry brushing was really... It looked really cool when you put it on. Well, obviously it was 3D, but it looked like more real, kind of.
Now you've got...
Yeah, it's like magic. It adds so much dimension. And, you know, you're just like kind of like roughly painting it, but in a different way. Helps pick out the details. Yeah, that's really cool. I never knew you could do that. Oh. Dry brushing silver over black is moi. Oh, that sounds so good. Yeah. Metallics on a dark background always like look really good. They pop.
Nice textured main color on your model. Let's go back to our standard brush
Yeah,
and start blocking in
texture.
the other colors we'll be using on the model. For the legs, torso and face of my Skitari, I'm going to paint them a military grey color. Again, get the paint on your palette so it's nice and thin and workable, not too thick, not too runny. And now, because we're going to be trying to be a little bit more accurate with our paintbrush this time, let's make sure the brush has a nice point and that there isn't too much paint on the brush. You can do both of these things in one easy motion. Simply wipe your brush on your palette and twist it around in your fingers.
Okay.
There we go. The bristles are now in a nice point, and we've got just the right amount of paint on the brush. Now start blocking in your secondary colors, paying a little bit more attention on how you hold and where you aim the brush.
This is where I'd mess up. Like painting the base colors, okay, at least like it doesn't have to be like extremely precise. You just have to like cover everything. And then once it gets to the part where like you have to start getting into the detail work, I feel like it gets very difficult.
It's really easy to accidentally touch a bit that you don't want to with the wrong
Yeah.
paint color, either with the edge of your brush or just if your hands are a little bit shaky. And don't worry about making little mistakes. I do it all the
Yeah.
time too. If
You
it's
could always
a
go
tiny
over
mistake,
it.
we can just go back with your
Yeah.
first color and tidy up the paint once it's
That's how
dry.
paint works.
If it's a bigger mistake, you can use a clean brush, dampened with a little water, to draw the paint away while it's still wet. If there are any smudges left over, tidy it up with your original color again. Every model painter does this back and forth, making sure their colors are in the right place.
These are very helpful tips.
Even though base coating might seem like the simplest part, it often takes the most concentration, so don't be afraid to relax and take your time. If your hands are a little bit shaky, don't forget to breathe normally and sit in a relaxed position. Be careful not to hold your breath.
Ooh,
It
wait.
can also help
Is that metallic silver paint? I couldn't tell if you were just painting gray again or it's like a new shade. Yeah, it looks really good though.
if you rest your elbows on your table and touch your wrists together to make a sort of anchor point.
Oh,
Every model is obviously totally different, but the process
Shiny.
of base coating will be the same. Just go around your model with whatever colors you want for that particular area. Do you want your weapons to be silver? Go for it.
yeah.
Pouches and bags and boots to be brown? Now's the time. Kristen painted the
I love metallics, so I have to put metallics in mine. I just love the shiny. Oh.
trim on the armor a nice gold color, made the weapons and aquila on the chest a nice dark grey, and then picked out some little bits and pieces with silver. Erin made the head on her Necron warrior a spooky bone
gold
color,
looks really
and then
nice.
painted the gun and cables silver. We also painted our bases too. Both Erin and I wanted a few areas on our model to be a cool blue glowing color, but we're going to leave that just for now because the
The
next stage will
gun.
darken things down a little bit
Looks
more.
so good.
So far we've covered base
That copper color looks amazing on the weapon. Metallic painting is easy to do when doing Space Marines. What models are you considering painting? I like Leagues of Votan, so I might build a kit from them. Don't use matte varnish over metallic paint. It ruins the metallic effect. Okay, noted. I guess that makes sense. Yeah, because I mean, metallic's supposed to be shiny. You don't want to matte it down. You can hold something small and heavy in your brush hand palm to steady your hand. Yeah, rock
coating,
and
fixing
stone.
mistakes,
Space
dry brushing,
dwarves.
and painting a little bit more accurately.
I want to build
Now
those.
let's learn how to use shade paints, sometimes called washes, to add quick definition to your models. I use either a brown wash or a black wash, or both, on pretty much every model I ever paint. They're much thinner and runnier than normal paints, and they're designed to seek out the recesses. So when they dry, the creases, cracks, and crevices are darker than they were before. They also stain the color they're painted over a little bit too, but if you're using the right color shade paint, I think it makes it look more grungy and realistic. To apply
Okay.
them, load up some wash on your brush and paint it over any of the parts you want to add shading to. It seems quite simple, and it is.
Oh.
As I said, I usually use a black
What?
wash and a brown wash.
I didn't know you could just wash over. I thought you had to like, I don't know. I thought it was like more like intricate than that. Obviously, this is still a very detailed process, but yeah, that is really cool. You just go over, yeah, that blessed No oil. No wonder you guys rave about this. Yeah. Painting minis is as easy or as complicated as you want to make it. I guess that makes sense. I mean, painting is freedom. No oil just makes shadows on its own. How does it just work like that? It's magic.
The black wash is applied over cooler colours like greys, blues, purples, and silver or metallic parts.
Oh, wow.
I use a brown wash on
just
anything
falls
I
into
want to
the
give
creases.
a warmer or dirtier tone to. Reds, browns, golds, even greens look quite nice with a little brown tinted shading. If you leave lots of wash on a model that has big armor panels or large smooth areas, it might start to look a bit streaky when it dries.
Yeah.
You can avoid this by, when you've finished applying your shade paint, swapping out to a clean, slightly damp brush and just tapping the brush on
you
the part
soak
where
it
you want
out.
to remove the wash. The shade will be drawn up into the brush and you can wipe it away on the paper towel.
Smart.
Rinse and repeat, literally, until you're happy with how your models look, and then leave it to dry. This will take a little bit longer to dry than regular paints, but after about half an hour, it should be dry enough to add a little more detail if you want to. But if you just
That's how the dip panel liner works. See, I've never used that. I've been using like for panel lining my gunpla, I've been using the gunpla like pen/markers. Yeah, so I didn't know like the dip panel liner. I mean, I heard all you do is like you just kind of like touch it and it like fills up the creases, but it never like I never saw it, so it never like registered in my brain how it worked. I see. It's technology.
But if you just want to paint your models to a nice tabletop standard, this is a great place
That
to
looks
leave
so
them if
good.
you like. If you want to push it a little bit further, let's quickly talk about highlighting.
Okay.
As you can see, the wash stage has muted the colours a little bit, so you may want to bring yours back up on the key parts of the model just to add some vibrancy and help define some of the details. Let's quickly mix up a highlight colour that's slightly lighter than our original
I love
base
highlights.
colour. For example, I'm going to mix a tiny bit of white into the grey that I used for my Skitari's legs, and then using my detail brush, I'm going to carefully pick out a few of the sharp folds and details around his legs, being careful to stay away from the recesses. We don't wanna-
I would love to do this. When I used to draw more, my favorite thing to do was adding highlights. I know, it just makes it just gives it more like pop, I guess.
ruin all that lovely shading we just did. This would be a good time to use a slightly smaller brush, and remember to make sure your paint is the right consistency on your palette first, not too thick, not too runny, and swirl the brush to bring it to a nice tip, and then paint. You can do this wherever you like on your model. This pushes the contrast between light and dark on your model too, making it look a bit more impressive and helping it stand out a bit more on the tabletop. Let me show you this process again, but this time to make this cool blue energy glow. First, I'll base coat this small area of
wait.
coils on the gun,
Blue.
and also the eye lenses on the Skitari's helmet. Then I'll mix a tiny bit of white into that blue paint to make it kind of sky blue, and then paint just the raised areas, making sure to leave some of the normal blue visible underneath.
Oh.
Then I'll mix a tiny bit more white in and do another very small highlight. And if I'm
So
feeling fancy,
detailed.
I might want to just do a single dot of white just on the sharpest parts to make it look really bright and shiny. I'll also do the same thing for the eye lenses, and Erin also did this effect on her glowing weapons too.
Oh, wow.
You don't need to go overboard with highlights. Often, just a few here and there will really sell the effect and make the miniature look a lot more striking. Now that you're done painting, let's give all our paintbrushes we used in the session a nice thorough clean in our water and then dry them off on the paper towel.
Or honestly, I don't know. I feel like if I follow this video, I feel like I can do it. Like I was thinking it'd be so much more difficult, but yeah. I have a little more confidence now. This was very insightful. Everything is starting to make sense. Yeah, basics are very easy. Practice makes perfect for sure.
Now, as you can see, we could definitely call it a day here. A cool looking model that's been nicely built,
Nice.
neatly base coated, dry brushed with texture, shaded and highlighted. Definitely a model to be proud of. Your box of models might have come with a little sheet of cool designs though. These are called water slide transfers. Basically, they're just fancy
Water
stickers that
slides.
activate with water. Let me show you quickly how to use these, just in case you want to add some to your models. Choose the one you want to use, and cut around it carefully using some scissors or your sharp hobby knife.
I didn't know Warhammer kits came with water slides too. I know some gunpla kits too, but I've never worked with them before.
Now add a few drops of water on your palette and lay the transfer in the water. After about a minute, give it a gentle tap with your paintbrush, and you should see that it's come loose from the
Slides
paper.
right off.
Lightly moisten the area of your model you want the transfer to go on, and then very gently scoop the transfer up with your brush. Now carefully lay it in place on your model, and while everything is still a bit wet, gently poke and prod the transfer until it's in the right place. Now dry your brush off on your paper towel and lightly press on the transfer. This will absorb some of the water and stop it slipping around as it dries and fixes on.
I like the
This
absorbing
is a notoriously
technique.
fiddly process, but you've got a lot of working time, so just be patient and you'll get it eventually. It'll be dry to the touch after about 1 hour, but because they're very fragile, they may break or flake off if you touch them too much. To make sure the transfer holds for years and years, you might want to add some stuff called matte medium over the top.
Oh yeah, I was gonna say like, isn't it better to add like a top coat after finishing painting?
This is basically paint, but with no colour in it, and it dries with a nice dull matte finish, so it also hides some of the shine on the transfer too,
That's
helping
nice.
it blend in. And that's basically all you need to know to start building and painting your very first Warhammer model. Here's my Skitarii model I've painted during this episode, but as I said before, I've been painting for years and I've painted a lot of models. But here's 15-year-old Kristen's Space Marine.
Oh, 15-year-old. Okay, this looks nice for a first kit. Yeah, that looks pretty good. Yeah, I feel like you should coat it if I mean, you might as well if you like spend so much time like painting it like just to protect it, give it an extra layer of protection, This looks so good.
And 11-year-old Erin's Necron Warrior. Both of them are their very first painted models, and I think they did a fantastic job.
Those
If
look good, yeah. Yeah, I have more confidence now. Now you need to paint 200 of them for battle, Emily. It's so over. Who am I battling? I don't know anyone IRL that's near me that plays Warhammer. I'll battle myself. And then I have to paint 200 for myself, then paint another 200 for husbando so we can battle each other.
Look at the box art for your models, the fancy photos they use on the website or Instagram accounts of professional mini painters.
Ooh.
It's easy to be put off when
the
you're
heck?
just getting into the hobby. Your paint jobs definitely won't look like these the very first time you try. And that's
Holy
okay.
shit.
Painting models is a skill you develop like any other. Playing an instrument, writing stories, playing a sport, the more you do it, the better you'll get.
You go to your local hobby store for an opponent. You can go to community game shops. You guys think I like going outside? No, my social anxiety says no. Yeah, I wanna hole up in my house. I don't wanna talk to people. People are scary. Kill team with husbando, cheap intro or 2 armies. I agree. I like the kill team with husbando idea. To be honest, Emily, if you bought 200 minis and painted them, your first battle is against your bank account. This is true. Or Logs' bank account. Emily dayon! Did you know that the clips here are all taken from my streams? So if you like to catch me real time or see everything, be sure to subscribe to my main channel. Please and thank you. Now sit back and enjoy the rest of the video.
To show you what I mean, here are some pictures from our awesome Patreon members showing their earliest models compared to
I
their
like the little
latest models,
guys.
just so you can see how you really do
Are these
improve
fantasy?
over time. And while you check them out, I'd also quickly like to thank our newest Patreon
haven't seen
members.
them before.
Sean Mayen, James, Captain Carnage, Martin Tiersgaard, Danny Moore, Ukrainian Smuggler, Paint Me Like One of Your Minis.
Oh,
Killer
Age of
Rat,
Sigmar.
John Who Streams,
Oh.
Matt Lee, Daniel Morris, Dan Orta, James Vaughan, Henrik Waddell, Stritchy Poo, Chris R,
Thanks, Marine.
Tyler Blair, Joe Brackenborough, Brendan Stevens, Hayden Cordill, Devon, Danny McElroy, Stuart Brown, Darren Wolozak, Thoughts for Your Thoughts, Chris Harris, Edward Pemberton, James Louch, Brandon Danger, Scott H, Anonymous Contributor, and Bat Flashes. I really hope you found this video useful. If you're looking for any of the tools or equipment I used in this video, there's a list of my recommended stuff in the video description. Thank you so much for watching. If you made it this far, you might like to check out some of our other beginner-friendly painting and crafting tutorials. And I'll catch you next time. Bye for now.
Thank you so much, Guy, and I hope you've enjoyed me putting it together and painting it and making it look cool.
Yay!
Bye!
Bye!
Thanks for watching. Bye.
Oh, they're so cute. I can see why Space Marines are considered a good beginner option. I can see why they're like probably easier to color. Yeah. And like kind of just like go with any color you want because you know there's so many that was a good video. Yeah, once again that was from Midwinter Minis.